Today's Amid is Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud Aleph. Amid Aleph, we're going to start on the bottom line on Kuf Yud Amid Beis. Here we go. Kiahi Maisa. There was a Maisa, the Rabbi Nachmani Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. So Rav Yehuda, it says the name of Shmuel. Kol HaMazug, anything which is diluted or is mixed. So mitzdaref, that will be mitzdaref to your cheshbon. So if you're drinking wine and you're being mazikin, and sometimes you do a better job than others, so that doesn't make a difference. It's all considered one min, and therefore it will be mitzdaref to your cheshbon. So that's whether it's going to be a 2 or a 3. So it doesn't make a difference. If it's mazug, it's mitzdaref. Chutz min hamayim, except for water.
What does that mean?
Now, water is not mazuk. So what are we talking about? So water could be mazuk. You could dilute water. How so? You could mix water with water. But here we're talking about hot water to cold water or cold water to hot water. So if you like your drink a certain temperature, so you're going to be mazikin. You're going to add some hot water. And if you like it, hot but not too hot, or cold but not too cold, so you'll be mazikin. So that's also a maziga. That Shmuel says that doesn't count, and therefore that will not be mitzdaref. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees. Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu mayim. You could even have mayim being mazug, because you like it to a certain temperature, a certain ratio, and therefore that will also be considered a maziga. So we have machlekes Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan whether mayim will be mazug. Pasa, if you want a lumdish machlekes here, you can make it into a lumdish machlekes, whether or not mayim chamim. If you have hot water, is that considered a different entity than not hot water? I was thinking about like Shabbos. We consider hot water a different substance. It's a chiyuv bishul. You could drink it regularly, but once you heat it up, it's considered a different entity. So maybe that has to do with this as well. Amar Papa, Loi Amran. This that Rabbi Yochanan said that the mayim is considered mazug. That's only if you're mixing hot and cold or cold into hot. But if you're mixing hot into hot and cold into cold, that is not called mazuk, that's called mayim. And that will not be mitzdaref. So which means if you had two, it goes to l'chumra and l'kula here. If you had two drinks and you're trying to have another one, so you shouldn't be in zugos, so a mixture of this nature will not help you. But if you had 3 and you had another one of this, that won't mess you up either. Okay.
What does that mixture even mean?
Why would you have, like, what's this chiddush? Like, obviously that's not called
What's the mixture?
hot and hot.
Yeah, it's not a mixture.
I don't know. Maybe if you want to make it hotter.
Then that hot and cold relative anyway. Say hot to cold and cold to hot.
Sort of relative. Hot, it could be it's definite, it's defined. Hot is yad letters by, and cold is not yad letters by. Maybe. But even though there is something called mayim paishrim. Paishrim is warm water. How do you define that? So it's also debatable. That's also relative. Yeah, I don't know. Paishrim is warm. Well, you could take, like, you're allowed to have mayim paishrim on, it's not called, you can't take a hot shower, for instance. Like, you can't bathe in hot water on Shabbos or Yantif. Hot. So what's considered not hot? So some people say, well, it should be, it could be, it doesn't have to be freezing cold, but it should be cold. Others say as long as it's not hot, it's not hot. You go both ways. Yeah, I'm not answering your question though, but it's a fair question. What is hot and cold and cold? Like, obviously that sounds to be like, why would you consider that a maziga? That's
So
being more water.
on all these other ones, if they mix it, there's no problem with zugos. Once you mix it, it's one. You can drink as much as you want from that one. Is that it?
If we're talking about if Rabbi Yochanan considers mayim, it's possible to be mazik mayim, right? That means if you'd have hot and cold, so that would be considered a maziga. And therefore it would be included in your drink. So that would count as whatever number you're up to. If you hold that it's not either let's say you're drinking hot water and you're adding more hot water to that, so that's meaningless. So that won't make you into a zug, and it won't take you out of a zug.
So, yeah. So you can drink as much as you want.
Correct.
And the
That
same
was
thing
right.
goes for Rabbi Yochanan when you mix anything with wine or whatever, all the other mixtures of liquids, once you mix it, it's one. It stays one.
No, meaning he was going to say that if you hold all types of mixed drinks will count towards your number, whatever number you're up to. So let's say I have one bottle of wine and I dilute it, I don't know, 1 to 3, and then I have another one and I dilute it 1 to 4. Then I have some shaker maybe that I also mix. All those will be counted as a cup of wine. Will be counted as a cup.
Yeah.
So you have to keep track of what cup you're up to.
No, but I meant the one that he diluted 1 to 3 in a big bottle. From that, you can drink as much as you want.
No, that'll be each case counts. Each cup counts.
Each cup counts. So what's the benefit of diluting?
His point wasn't saying that there's a benefit to it. He's just saying that all diluted drinks will count to it will count in number to whatever cup you're up to. It counts. As opposed to, let's say you would just now drink some yain chai, right? You'd have some undiluted drink, then that would not be mitzvah to whatever you were to your drinks that you've been drinking until now. Right? We'll go like this. If you normally, I think the language is cut your whiskey. Is that a language? No? I think, you cut it? What is it called when you add water to your whiskey?
Like you add ice cubes.
No, that's on the rocks, but I think you can cut it. I think like if you don't want it so strong, though, I think the language is you cut it. I think that means they add some water to it.
Or any juice. Any juice. Vodka with tomato sauce.
If you what?
You can add like vodka with tomato sauce.
No, but that I'm talking about if you can have your whiskey straight, or you can what's it called when you add water to whiskey? You cut it. Okay, I think it's cut. Yeah. So if you're cutting your whiskey, so let's say you're having yain mazikin, you're having a cup, 2 cups, and now you're adding that. Now that you're going to have some whiskey and you're going to cut it, that's going to be considered mazuk, and that will be included in your count. But if you were to have, let's say, if you would take it straight, so then it wouldn't be included. Let's say I was going shot for shot. I had 2 shots of straight whiskey. Then I'm going to cut one, so that's not going to be. It will not be mitzvah to my zugos. So think the drinks that are diluted are mitzvah. If they count, they will keep that will be counted towards zugos. If it's not diluted, then it would not be included, and therefore that's considered a separate entity. Okay. Let's go weiter. 4 lines down. Amr Shlakish. 4 things. If you do them, you are considered your dummy b'reisha. It means you're like you deserve to die, and then you're responsible for it. It's your fault. What are they? So these are mazikin bits, or ruach ra, or mazikin. Elohim. Hanifne, somebody who relieves himself, in between a tree and a wall. That means he's not leaving room for the mazikin to get through. If you walk through 2 palm trees, again, not leaving room for the mazik to get through. If you drink borrowed water, or you pass over water that has been spilled out. That's, I think, classic mayim shvuchin is water that you use to wash an agalbasser with. So the water has a ruach ra, and then you spill it onto the ground, and you walk over that. And even if your wife spilled it out in front of him, I guess that means you don't have to be. You saw what happened with it, but these are things that are not good. You don't want to get there. You do these things. You're the dummy bereishay. Now the Gemara now will explain each one of these. Number one, to walk between the one who relieves himself, being between a tree and a wall in a narrow space. Lay amran el lay arba amis. That's only if there's no, you don't have 4 amis in between those two areas. It's a very narrow space. But if you have 4 amis less lamba, then there is no issue. And even if you don't have 4 amis, there's no other place to go. If there's another place to go, less lamba, because the mazik can have, find a different route to take. What happened? I guess you're taking some space there. Doesn't want to walk there. I think in general, when a person releases himself, he sets himself up for mazikin. You're also like in a mazik zone. I think
the mazik out. Is that what you're doing?
One more time.
Are you pushing the mazik out? Why are you worried that there's no room for him?
Because it's a narrow area. Whenever you're in a narrow area, you're not giving the mazik space to go through.
You don't want the mazik anyway. Who wants?
Yeah, but he's going to be mazik because this is his path.
So he belongs there. You're saying
he has a right to be there, as we'll see in a moment. Says the Gemara a little next scenario. It's the next case was one who walks between 2 trees, so that also is in trouble. So loy amran el delay paskinu rishus rabim. That's only if you don't have a rishus rabim, or it doesn't mean a literal rishus rabim. It just means a path that people walk through doesn't cut between those trees. Aval paskinu rishus rabim. If there's a path between those 2 trees that many people use, less lanba, then there's no issue walking there because the mazik has no right to be there if people use that area. That's a public space that people use, so he has no right to be there. So you don't have to be concerned. Okay. Borrowed water. Whoa, that's an interesting one. That's only if a katan borrowed it. A minor borrowed the water. If an adult borrowed the water, less lamba, you don't have to be concerned. And even if it's a kid who borrowed the water, this is only in the field where it's hard to come by. It's not so common to have water there, so the mazik is looking for water. I will be ear the shchichi, where you can get water elsewhere, less than, but you don't have to be concerned. This is only with water. Mazikin have a kayach over mayim, aval chamer v'shechra, but wine and shecher, less than ba, you would not have an issue borrowing and drinking. That's what it means. You borrowed the water. Like you're planning on giving it back, and you're paying it back with something else, presumably. Yeah, I guess so. It's an easier fight. I don't know. That's what it seems. The question was, what's the difference between a katan and a gadol when it comes to a mazik? I don't know. I mean, this is the first time we're seeing a difference. Like it doesn't. Like why now when you're borrowing water, there's only a katan that it'll start up with. Okay. Now the last one is if you're walking over water that was spilled out. As if no dirt went into the water yet. Tough no one spit in the water. But if they already got some dirt in there, or someone spit in it, less than but there's no issue. It's also if the sun hasn't shown if the sun rose already and it shined on this puddle, that's not an issue either. Or you didn't have 50 steps, 60 steps over it. If you had the sun, or it had 60 people walk over this puddle, less than ba, there's also no issue. This is also only if you're not riding a donkey, and you're not wearing shoes. So if you have any one of these Tanayim, you're okay. You don't have to be worried about these Mayim Shvuchim. But this is only if you don't have to be concerned for Kishuv. If there's witches around, so then even if you have all these, you're wearing shoes, you're riding a camel, and there was spit in and dirt in it, everything, still chashinin, you got to be concerned for that water. That's ruach ra, that's water with the ruach ra, the kishuv makers like. Who gavra, the ruach of chamer v'sayim misani. There was this guy who was riding a camel, and he had shoes on. But he went over Maim Shvuchim, the Gomud Misane, his shoe started to shrink, the Tzavu Kare, and his foot dried up. They got him. Tanrabanan. We're blessed. We live in good times. Tanrabanan. Shloisha ein mimatzin v'loy mismatzin. So we're going to list 3 things that you should not cut between, and you should not have them cut between you and somebody else. Ve'elohein, kelev, you should not walk between 2 dogs, and you shouldn't have 2 dogs. You should have a dog walk between you and somebody else. V'hadekel, a tree, you shouldn't walk between. Have a tree divide you, I guess. Va'isha, and a woman, you shouldn't walk between 2 women. And you shouldn't walk between 2 women, and you shouldn't have a woman walk between 2 men. The same with a chazir. Is also a snake. Okay. What happens if you split them up? You walk between 2 women, let's say, Maita Kante, Amar Papa, Niftach Bekel v'nafsek Bekel. You should start with a pasuk that begins with the word kel and end the pasuk that ends with the word kel. If you take a look at the Rashba, I'm going to tell you exactly which psukim we're talking about. These are psukim from Bilam. Rashbam is about 2, 4, 5 lines down in the wide lines. Middle of the line, Niftach Bekel v'Nisayim Bekel. That's Kel Maitzia Mi Mitzrayim, the Geimer, the end of that pasuk, and the next pasuk is Kilenochash B'Yakov Ad Mipal Kel. So 2 psukim from the bracha of Bilam, the clause of Bilam, and or alternatively, the Gemara says Inami, just stay in the Rashbam, Niftach B'Lai U'Mesayim B'Lai, and those are also 2 different psukim like Ishkel V'Chazev Ad V'Lai Yikamena. Okay, so those are 2 psukim you can say if you inadvertently walked between any of 2 dogs or 2 women. Yeah. Now the Gemara, not here. The Pesachim talk about what the scenario should be. They got to be within 4 amas of each other. They got to be looking at each other, and they should be stationary. That's when you'd have an issue. Yeah. I don't know. They only talk about the women. They don't really talk about the other. I mean, what? I guess I don't know how common is the other ones. You walk 2 dogs. I see dogs. I go the other way. So I'm not walking between 2 dogs, but definitely it seems like there has to be some type of a kvius between the things you're walking through. So the dogs, they got to be stationary, I guess. Or the people have to be stationary, or if someone's walking between you, like if you're walking in the city, everybody's just walking, there's no concern, according to most. I think there was somebody brought down that there is a concern even in that scenario, but it seems like none of this that you just agav, nothing here is brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. Nothing on this page. You'll notice in the Ein Mishpat, Ner Mitzvah, there is not on this page. Right? Nothing, I'm sorry? Right. Nothing on this page is brought down in Shulchan Aruch. There is brought down, there is a siman, there's like I think it's a long shach in like siman kuf zayin, maybe kuf tazayin, around over there, where he talks about sakana issues. And there he brings lots of different things. Maybe he brings this. I don't remember it. So none of this is the halacha. People are, and doesn't even have, even though some things are sakana over here, it says Yemachai benafshay. It doesn't, and normally we say chamir sakanta me isura, but being that it's not brought down in the halachic books, so it's an Indian. Some people are machmir for it. Some of the things, like this one that we just mentioned, seems to be something that's that more people know about, walking between two women or having a woman walk between two men. So that is, it's brought down things that people were accustomed to keep. So maybe you know there's more of an Indian to keep, but being that it's not that brought down in the Pesachim, you can be as makel as you can be in the. I mean, even being machmir on keeping this Indian of, let's say, not walking between two women, you could be semech on all the different kulas that you find in the Pesachim that have certain limitations or requirements for this to be an issue. Okay. We continue. Hani Beitrei. The matzah lahu isha nida. You had two men that a woman, a isha nida, walked between them. Im tchilas nidasi, if it's the beginning of her nida cycle, hireges echer mehem. One of them will get killed. If they say not killed, it will get damaged. Im seif nidas, if it's at the end of her nida, he miriva. Im seif nidas, he miriva isa b'nehem. They will start. They'll have some type of a fight between the two people that you walk between. Ma'ita kante. So what should you do? Sumar says, niftach bekel v'nifsak bekel. Same eitzah as before.
This is all shogeg.
One more time.
This is all shogeg. The men don't know. How could they separate? That the men don't even realize.
How would a man know what was going on? Yeah. Yeah, Rashi, the good you macham the tesis. Take a look at the bottom tesis here. Im tchilas nida hireges yesh mefarish im oislan kishif. If while she's walking through, she does some kishif. I mean, my father asked, how the heck are you supposed to know where this woman's up to in her cycle? So it's not. Tesis says it's not the fact that she's just tchilas nida; it's she's also doing kishif. So she's using her tchilas nida and some kishuf and walking between you. Then you got to be careful. So I guess you'll know if she's doing kishuf if she's doing some stuff as she's going through. So she's doing her what do they call it? Yeah. All right, you got to be nervous. Or just stay away. Okay. Now the Gemara talks about. Okay, Hani Treinashi, the Yoshvan beprashas Rachim. There were two women that were sitting at a crossroads. Chada b'haigisa, v'chada b'haigisa. The shliva, one was at one side of the road, v'chada b'idachisa, and the other one was at the other side of the road. U'mechuvanin apayul hadadi, and they were looking at each other. You see that? V'adei b'kshav maskinan. They're for sure up to something. They're doing some witchcraft. So ma'atakante, what are you supposed to do? If there's another road, Lezelba, take it. If there's no other path, so if there's somebody else with you, hold on to his hands, and walk through. If you don't have another person with you, name mahachi. So say the following: Igras, Ozlas, Asya, Belusia. Those are four names of Shadim or Kishif or things like that. Miskatla b'chek kavel, should be killed with an arrow. All righty, you got it? That's what you say. All right, I'm feeling empowered. Haiman, tepaga be'isisa, be'idan desalkim matilas mitzvah. If a person bumps into a woman while she's coming out of the mikvah, okay, I mean a mikvah, I guess she was in the lake and you're walking by, and you're the first person she sees and she sees you. So ihu kadam umishamish. So you got to be a little careful now. If you're going to be mishamish, you go home and you have tashmish. So Achtelei lididei ruach zenunim. The ruach zenunim is, I don't know how to, some promiscuous thoughts or something like that. A ruach zenunim who is going to attach itself to you. That's not great. And if she's first, she's going to have to do with this ruach zenunim. So Maita Kante, what should he do? Lema, let him say Hachi the following. A pasuk from Tehillim, Shefech Buz al Nadivim, he spills his anger, his wrath on princes, V'yitam b'toihu leidarach, and they wander on a path that has no path. Okay, now who says that? It sounds like here it's only the man that says it, because this says Lema Hachi, doesn't say Lame Ru, that they should say. So it sounds like just he says it, and it should work for both of them. Okay. Amar Yitzchak says the Hilgei Gemara. My dichsiv. Pasuk and Petul Chav Gimel says Gam ki eilech v'geitz amavis. Also, when I walk in the valley, the shadow of death, like ira ra, I had fear no evil. Ki ati imadi. So where is the shadow of death? There's gates amavis. So it says the Gemara Zeh hayashim b'tzel dekel yechidi. One who sleeps in the shadow of a single tree. Ubitzel levana, or in the shadow of the moon. Ubitzel dekel yechidi. And fine, those are two things. Ubitzel dekel yechidi. When you, what does it mean in the shadow? What this gates amavis is a dekel, the shadow of a single tree. Like amron elo de le nafel tulo de chavri uluya. That's only if it does. This tree doesn't get any shade from another tree, meaning it's like mamish alone. Avol nafel tula. Tula is a shadow. The chavre ilavei. But if there is a shadow, if there's some shade from another tree that goes onto this tree, so even though if you're not in the shade of the second tree, you're only in the shade of this tree, but there's another tree around, then you're less lambai. You don't have to be concerned. Elahadatanya. This I learned in the Brisa. Yashim itzel dakli yachidi b'chatzer. One who sleeps in the shadow of a deck of a tree, alone in a chatzer. Chatzer is a courtyard. But Yashim b'tzel levana, and someone who sleeps in the tzel levana, daima barashai, so he's responsible for his life. But what's the scenario? Why is this different than what we spoke about before? Hechidami, meaning it sounds like the chatzer is worse than a regular sleeping in the shadow of a tree, not in a chatzer. So hechidami, if there's no other trees around, then afilu b'sadanami. Then even if you're in a sada, you're in bad shape. Elalav shamina b'chatzer. This means that even if you're in a chatzer, avagav de nafel tulo dechavre ilavei, even if you're in a chatzer and there's another tree providing shade, but you're sleeping in the shadow of just one tree, even if there's another tree there that gives shade to this tree, you're up a creek. Shema mina. That's a good raya. You don't want to be sleeping alone in the shadow of a tree. So I don't know, if you got one tree in your backyard, you want to sleep under your tree, and there are no other trees around, and you're in a chutzner, maybe you should, I don't know, I guess that's enough. You're going to have a hammock, have it swinging between two trees. Whatever. I'm just trying to figure out what we're talking about here. And if you're in the shadow of the moon, that's only, I'm not exactly sure what this means. It means when the moon is in the west. Rashbam, look at the second to last line. He says, Hainu b'seit ha'chodesh. That's at the end of the month. Shehalavana zeirachas b'mizrach. The moon shines in the east. Is that how it works? I don't know. I always thought the moon it's in different spots of the sky at different times of the month. Yeah, I thought it goes up and down every day.
Starts differently.
You only see it in a certain. It's on different parts. Okay, so if the moon is in the east, that means if you're next to a wall, Litzad HaMa'ariv, to the west of it, then you will be in the shadow in the west. Right? If the moon's over here, and this is the east, and then here's your wall west, and you're on the other side of that wall, so you're going to be in the shadow of the sun. So that will be an issue. But if it's the opposite, if it's the beginning of the month and in the opposite situation, less flamba, you don't have to worry about that. All right, we got through Kuf Yud Aleph, Baruch Hashem, Amud Aleph. Can't wait to see what's up next on Kuf Yud Aleph Beis. Stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow. Laila Tova.
I mean, they just think that.